Alright guys, so this is just a look at a little project you're going to be making, a closer look at it. As you can see, all we did was nail it through the side, the lid on here with another piece of material that makes the lid stay in one spot. And that's what we're going to build. Good. In order to build this, you're going to need to use a hammer. Okay, some of you guys might have used a hammer already. Some of you may not have used a hammer before. There's a lot of different types of hammers. Okay, I've got a few sitting in front of us right now. This is just a basic 16-ounce hammer. Nothing special. This is the one that I'm going to lend you guys in order to make your projects. This is a claw hammer. It's called a claw hammer because it has a claw at the back. Okay, 16 ounces is a fairly lightweight hammer. You're not going to find this on like a framing site or a construction site where they're putting up walls. That's when you're going to see something like this. This is a framing hammer. You can see the two lined up to each other. One's really long, one's really short, right? This is 16 ounces, as I said before. This one, I believe, is a 24 ounce, okay? Again, it is a claw hammer. See these hammers next to us? These are also framing hammers, okay, but they're a little bit different. Notice this one has a metal neck on it, or a handle, and this one has a wooden handle, all right? The difference being, if you're going to be hammering all day long, you're going to want a wooden handle because the handle absorbs some of the impact when you're driving in a nail. Compared to this framing hammer that has a metal neck, you don't want to be hammering with this all day long because the metal's not absorbing much of the impact when you're driving in a nail. All that force and pressure is going into your arm. It's going to cause fatigue in your arm. You get stuff like tennis elbow, stuff like that. This hammer, really good for demolition work. Demolition, you know, so you're going to tear down a wall, something like that, you have to demo it. So you're going to be knocking stuff out with this hammer. Compared to this other framing hammer, if you try to demo a wall with this, chances are you're going to break this handle. So that's why you would go with the metal handle. You'll also see the heads are different. This one's called a waffle head. So it kind of has lines through it. This one's a smooth head. Okay, so when you're demoing, you don't really care about gripping onto nails. Whereas when you're framing, driving in nails, these little waffles on here kind of grip onto your nail head a little bit better, so your hammer isn't glancing off the nail and bending your nail, stuff like that. Okay, so little differences, but both framing hammers are considered. Okay, and these are about 20 ounces. Different occupations, different trades have different tools, right? So these other two that I have here, still hammers, but they're just used for different trades. So this is a ball peen hammer, okay? Characteristic, the ball on the end. This is used for a lot of metal work, right? Okay, and these also come in different sizes. And then for welding, we would use something like this. This is called a chipping hammer, okay? It's not very stable. You're not gonna be driving a nail in with this. If you guys have taken my welding class, you know this hammer. This is for when you're arc welding. You have to chip off what's called the slag. It's real lightweight, type of a crust over your weld. That's when you would use this. Okay, so just an example of some different hammers for different trades. So now we got to talk about safety for using a hammer. Okay, one thing that's not so obvious to some people when you're using a hammer, every once in a while when you're hammering, the nail will kind of fly off, okay, and they're moving real fast. If that ends up in your eye, you're probably going to lose an eye or do some damage to your eye. So, got to wear goggles. All right, I'm going to supply these for you. you're gonna have a pair of goggles, just put them on. You gotta wear them whenever you're gonna be in my class, so I hope you're gonna be wearing them when you're up at the cottage too. Save your eyeballs, you only got 2 of them. Other safety issues. I always tell the guys when they're entering my class, inside the classroom, this is a tool. You can use it, no problem. If you try to take this tool somewhere else outside of your cottage, away from your staff, and somebody catches you with it, this is most definitely going to be considered a weapon, okay? I tell you that for a couple reasons. One, I want to keep my tools. Another one is I don't want to get you guys into trouble, right? If you try to take this, they are going to consider it a weapon. So please, use it as needed when you're building your project. Give it right back to your staff members after you're done with it, okay? Don't hit other objects. The only thing you should be hitting with this, in this case, are your nails, all right? Don't be hitting stuff into the walls, whatever you guys want to do. Don't do it. Just use it on the nails and everything's going to be good. You start using this for other reasons, we're not going to be able to do this type of stuff, and you're back to doing strictly paperwork for my classroom. Okay, you don't want to do that. So do what they're intended for, and that's about it. Wear your goggles, everything's good. Thanks, guys. So now that we've gone over some of the different hammers, I want to go over some of the different nails that we use. These are just a few of some of the nails that you'll find in a shop or on a construction site. There are many, many, many different kinds other than these ones. But these are ones that you're going to find in my class if you do take my construction class, something like that, okay? So let's start off with sizes. You'll see that we start off small and go to big, okay? They're labeled a certain size, okay? And you'll see on boxes when you go to the hardware store, it'll usually say the length, 1 pound means how much the box weighs, right? And then you'll see a number and the letter D, in this case 8D, okay? That's the size of the nail that we're using, or that you're buying in this case, is an 8D. An 8D nail is this right here, okay? It's about 2.5 inches, right? To give you an example of a bigger nail and its designated title would be this nail right here. This is a 16D nail. Okay, so I'm side by side. You'll see the length is much greater. Look at the shaft too, much thicker than this little one, right? So 16D, 8D. The bigger the number, the bigger the nail, right? Okay. Other instances that you'll see. See this nail right here on my right, it's not coated with anything, it's just a nail, right? Kind of shiny. This nail, if you were able to feel it, it's kind of coarse, okay? It's got like a coating over it. This is called a galvanized nail, okay? So galvanized versus not galvanized. Galvanized, you're going to use whenever you're going to use, or your nail is going to be outside or exposed to the elements, because your galvanized nail isn't going to rust, okay? To where if you use this nail on, say, some siding on a house, and this head is exposed, that's going to rust, and that rust is going to get into your wood, and then your wood is going to rot, okay? So that's why we want to use galvanized whenever we're using a nail outside, okay? Another thing that we're looking at right now, and also going back to the sizes, these are both 8D nails. You can see they're almost the same length. This one's a little shorter, and the shafts are about the same size, so 8D. But the big difference on this one are the heads. You'll notice on this one, there's a very small head on it, whereas this one has a great big head on it. Okay, so this is called a finish nail, all right? And this particular nail right here is called like a box nail or a common nail, okay? So you would use a finish nail whenever you want to use a nail that you want to be hidden, okay? So this nail right here, once you nail it into something, you could sink it below the material, the piece of wood that you're using, and then cover that with a piece of putty or wood filler, and you're never going to be able to see that. Whereas this box nail, you're not going to be able to sink that too far below your material, so you're always going to be able to see this head of the nail, right? So whenever you want to cover up your nails, make it look pretty, say that you're putting up some molding around your doors or something, finish nail, that's what you want. So just kind of different types that you're going to use. Going to the sizes again, there's 16D nails. These are used for when you're framing a wall, right? So there's code whenever you're building a structure, and the code is asking for a 16D nail, right? So you could kind of just tell, if you tried to frame a wall with this little guy, it's not going to hold very much weight. When you use this one, it's going to hold a lot more weight, right? So you want to use a bigger nail. Another thing to kind of look at, we talked about it with the framing hammers. The one framing hammer that we were looking at has some waffles on it, some lines. So you'll see this little box nail, it's real smooth. And the framing nail has little lines on it. Okay, the lines are supposed to grip the hammer a little bit so your hammer doesn't glance off and bend your nail, stuff like that. All right, and then just to talk about it, since it's here, got this little nail, it's kind of stubby, it's got a big head on it. Okay, this is a roofing nail. You're going to use this on shingles, stuff on a roof, right? That's just all it is. So just an example of what these nails are.